Hey, how are you all doing? I hope you guys had an amazing Valentine's Day. To my single people, I feel you. I'm single. Great life we live on the day of love, as I say. But welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a story time. I hope you all really enjoy this story. It's kind of personal, kind of life lesson-y, but I think it'd be a really great story to tell in the beginning of my channel. So here we go. Alrighty, so this story, it's a story about the struggle of an 8th grade girl trying to decide whether or not to get confirmed and deciding where to go to high school. And as I tell you this story, I'm going to rainbow loom. I guess the story kind of starts out in 7th grade, I'd say. 7th grade is when at my middle school, what happened was you had to go to these classes. You had to go 4 classes. Lord's Supper, baptism, all of that. And then next one you would learn, I can't really remember as much, but you had to go 4 classes. Getting confirmed is a big deal, right? Because you're going to say, this is my religion for the rest of my life. Kind of deal, like, this is how I believe in God. This is how I see an entity. That is how we, see him. They, her, whatever you want to call God. At this time, I was referring to God as a him. I'm now starting to refer to God as a they, simply because God truly has no gender or sex. It's hard to break the habit, but they are an entity, completely something that is beyond sex and gender. So 7th grade is when I started noticing church in a sense of, wow, these people come here and they believe these words. They believe that gay people go to hell because they love the same sex. But yet they still don't believe to throw rocks at people, because that's the part of the Old Testament we ignore. Well, we don't ignore it, but we don't acknowledge it the same as we used to. And it was very interesting to me because at 13, I was starting to question if I wanted to stand by those words. Because when people see me in public and I would say, my middle school is Lutheran, so if I were to say, yeah, I'm Lutheran, they were going to be like, oh, so you believe this way. Every religion has those stereotypes. And being raised in rural town America and knowing the stereotypes of each religion, I started thinking, well, what's the stereotype of this religion? How will people view me if I said I'm Lutheran? And I thought, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready to have this on my shoulders. But I still went through all the courses because I am fascinated by religion, as I've said before. Utterly fascinated. And I went through it my 8th grade year, and we started having classes where people come and speak to us. And they said, if a gay person doesn't change for you, then you leave them behind. Now, I don't know about you, but I morally couldn't do that. I have family members that are lesbian, gay, whatever, and I would never stand by any hate on anyone, because how should I? I'm a biracial woman. If I were to stand for hate, that'd be pretty ironic, right? Think about it. The irony there, it's strong. And they said those words, and looked around the room, and I saw my classmates shaking their heads. What are we agreeing to? Is this a contract? Because if me going through confirmation is a contract saying I thoroughly believe through this catechism, I believe these words you're saying to me in church from the pupil, then I don't think this is right for me. So I started saying, yeah, I'm not going to get confirmed. And I finished all the classes. And some of the classes, they were saying, Baptists don't thoroughly baptize you the right way. Same with non-denominational churches. My grandma went to non-denominational church as a kid. And she was there at that one, and she was in tears. She was so infuriated. And I was like, you said this about my grandma, that she might go to hell because she didn't believe the same. I knew that I couldn't do that. I couldn't sit there and let those people judge me or judge anybody else of their religion or just the way they want to live their lives. Living a non-moral life is different than not living a religious life, I'd say. I live a morally good life, I think. At least I try my best. Try my best to be caring and loving towards everybody, even complete strangers. And as I was figuring those things out, like, wow, my grandma's in tears because these people and the words they say, that's harsh. It's harsh seeing 13, 14-year-olds' brains be morphed into hatred, dislike in a way. You know, they start to dislike people before they even get to hear their stories and their culture and their reason they're drawn to that religion, the reason they're drawn to those morals. We start to build walls, thinking, well, I'm right, you're wrong. And walls are hard to build and they're hard to break down to. And I didn't want that for myself. I didn't want it at all. I was completely against building walls against people that are different than me, because my entire life I was seen as a different person, different thing. My entire life I'm going to be seen as maybe useless, small, and I can never put anyone in that same predicament. So I finished the classes and I got pulled aside during my lunch periods by the pastor and the DCE. And they both said, so Mariah, we heard you don't want to get confirmed. And now you have to imagine a 14-year-old girl in a room with two grown men alone with the door closed. And I have anxiety. I'm shaking. And I'm like, well, of course. Yeah. Like, I'm not like, well, why are you concerned about it? Like, why don't you want to get confirmed? And I said, well, I don't agree with what you say in class. And they're like, what did I say in class? The DC is starting to get upset with me. And I said, well, I just don't agree with what you say about how you have to leave gay people if they don't change for you. And he goes, I never said that. Stands up, slams whatever he had in his hand. He stands up real fast and he starts yelling at me, saying I never said that, because I can get him fired at that point. And the pastor at the time said, sit down, calm down. So I'm starting to get teary-eyed because I'm so frightened and I'm shaking. And I also haven't eaten yet, so I'm starving. And I'm just sitting there shaking, scared, out of my mind. And the pastor goes, well, we cannot stop gay people from coming in the building or worshiping here. Although that may be not our belief that being gay is correct, we can't stop them from worshiping God and believing the Lutheran way. And I completely understood that. I was like, well, okay, but then why was I still told that these people aren't allowed to go to church or aren't allowed to be part of my life if they're gay, but yet you'll let them inside the building? Like, well, we can't stop people from coming in here. And I'm just like, I was so confused. And I'm being told all these words are going in one ear and not the other. And I'm shaking and I'm hungry. And honestly, I blacked out. I don't remember the memory. When I went to therapy, my therapist said that is a defense mechanism for trauma. That you black it out, the memory. That you lose time, space, dimensions, all of it. You just lose it. You go blank. And that is truly what happened to me. I was scared. I didn't know why I was being told these things and being told I was wrong, being told I wasn't right? So I was eventually released back to lunch after I cried and I broke down in tears in the cafeteria. Everyone was going out to recess, so my friends stayed behind, and I asked my friend, Madison, I asked her, and I said, did he not say those words to us in class? And she said, yes, she did. Yes, he did. And I was like, okay, well then, why was I being told I'm a liar? I heard him say those words. Everyone else heard him say those words. And I start shaking and I start crying. Tell me it's okay, and I eat my Go-Gurt that I packed on a regular basis. But as that may be sad, and as that may be not the greatest memory I have of middle school, it did something where it seemed to brought me closer to God. It brought me closer to myself. I say that's some major character development for me was that moment. I realized religion doesn't define you. Religion is an element of who you are. So everyone's out to recess. So after I finish my Go-Gurt, we go out to recess for like 10 minutes. We got like the rear end of it. I'm all shaken up. You know, my teacher, she asked me, she's like, Mariah, are you okay? And I said, yes, I am. Thank you. She's like, okay. You know, because I'm still shaking because I have anxiety. But this is before I even knew I had anxiety. So I just thought it was normal for everyone to be this nervous all the time. So that went on, and what it did is all of it brought me closer to God. It brought me closer to myself. I developed into this woman, this young lady that started making up her mind about how I wanted to view God. You know, you're always told in the commandments, you know, to not fear, to fear and love God. An explanation of the commandments, you know, fear and love God, for like you shall this and that. And I'm tired. I started getting tired of seeing God as a man judge us all the time, because we're also taught that God is loving, right? He's merciful. And I didn't see that in him anymore at that school. I just started seeing the old grumpy man that sat in his chair and judged us left and right on if we just made a good decision by not giving that homeless person a meal or something. You know, I started seeing it as a hateful, mean God, and I did not like that. And if I would have stayed there, I think I would have kept that image of him. So, of course, my image started changing, and I was like, I can finally start being my own person. And of course, my grandpa didn't really agree with the fact that I didn't get confirmed, because I was raised Lutheran, and he didn't see a reason why I wouldn't get confirmed. That's just what you do. And I was like, but when you get confirmed, are you not supposed to stand in front of the whole church and say you believe this way? You go up there and you say, and you answer the question they're asking you about that religion. Are you not supposed to be standing in that moment feeling all the holiness so fulfilled from God? Are you not supposed to feel those things? And he got quiet. He said, well, eventually you might feel those things. I said, eventually. And that's how I just knew I wasn't ready for being confirmed. As days went by, I, got back in the groove of school. My friend Madison didn't end up getting confirmed either. we both couldn't do it. So, we're the bad Christians. How dare us not get confirmed? And so, it's kind of like, point fingers at you. But eventually the finger pointing stopped. And not getting confirmed led me to another route. And that is that I wanted to continue learning about theology in school. One of my class coaches for AAU was actually a coach for the high school that I'm going to now. And what happened was I started looking at the school all in 7th grade. So 7th grade I went and shadowed. And then 8th grade year is when I had to make the decision where I was going to go. And so, local public high school came in. They're like, hey, come here, blah, blah, blah. And my friend Madison didn't end up going to the school that's near us either. She went somewhere different. And I go to a Catholic high school now. My grandpa also was very, I'd say kind of nervous about this decision. And I think the reason he was nervous was because he didn't really understand why I want to get confirmed, and he didn't really understand why then I would choose Catholicism. Because in a way that's, kind of opposing to Lutheranism, because Lutheranism, Martin Luther went up to the Catholic Church and held the 90 Theses. 90 Theses saying that the Catholic Church wasn't teaching the people right, charging them to be saved and, get a shortened time in purgatory, which isn't true. The only way you can get shortened time in purgatory is if you pray and repent and all that. All that jazz. So, as I was, looking at that school, he would argue with me. Parochial school, private school. Sorry, my middle school is parochial. This is a private school. Private school is not cheap. And what would happen was, it's a $14,000 school. I can't pay to go there for $14,000. That's what I'm going to be paying for college. Wow. So on top of that, he's like, how are we going to pay for it? Well, my school has financial aid, and I qualify for some of my financial aid by my grades and athletics and all that. And they make it so affordable for everyone. I love my school, if you can't tell. And so I end up really getting in love with it. And my grandpa was just so against it. And my other family members, my aunt was saying, why would you go there? You'll learn just fine. All the rest of us learn just fine at the public schools. But that's the thing. If you learn just fine, then why not learn excellent? Why learn just fine when you can learn amazing? When you can learn about the true beauty of science, math, all of it. Why learn just fine? So my grandma was like, well, what gets you to college? And everyone's like, well, you go to high school first. And she's like, exactly. So why would we not give her the best high school knowledge? She deserves it, does she not? She deserves to be educated. And they're like, well, of course she does. I'm like, okay, then she's going here. And I went there. And through all the years, I continued my theology classes. I continued to question them. I'm not Catholic by any stretch, and I take this no offense, but Catholicism is not for me. But it's pretty amazing, those things that I've learned from that school, and the things I continue to learn. And to anyone out there that's questioning, should I try to get confirmed? Should I, try and find a higher education for myself? If you're already questioning something, if you're questioning if this is right for you, listen to your gut. Because this story time is getting kind of deep. I didn't mean it to get this deep. But my life lesson for the day, Mariah's life lesson, is that you need to dig deep into yourself. You need to look inward and be like, do I truly believe this religion? Because it's not to say that I'll never come back to that religion, right? I might come back to being a Lutheran. I don't see myself doing that, but I might. Just because I don't have a denomination doesn't mean I love God any less. Doesn't mean I don't believe in God any less. Religion is supposed to amplify the relationship you have with God. It's not supposed to hinder you in your ability in loving God properly and loving yourself properly. It's supposed to help you amplify all that and trust His grace and holiness, right? But when your religion starts suffocating you, you stop feeling those desires to wake up and go to church, wake up, read the Bible. Then look inward, see where it went wrong, see if it's the way you're being taught about God. Like I was kind of being taught, he's almost an old judgmental man, and I don't like that thought of God at all. I like the God that sits there and creates things. This is kind of turning into a philosophical story time, which I'm sorry. And if you guys don't believe in God, that's sweet too. Like, be an atheist. It's not up to me what you want to be, but overall, the moral the lesson of this whole shindig is follow your heart. I've been through some troubles with a lot of things, but I think what's gotten me through it is that my heart wants to do good, and I want to care for others. I want to be the best I can for others. I'm an other person. I love serving others. That's who I am. I'm other oriented. But when it comes to religion, when it comes to education, look at you first, and then the others will come. That is how it works. All right, everyone. I really hope that you kind of learned something. Maybe even fell asleep during this. I don't know. But I really hope that you learned something today. And I really hope you enjoyed the story time. I don't know how it became philosophical. I don't know. But that was my journey with religion there for a bit. I have obviously so much more I can talk about it. I love talking about everything philosophical. It's really amazing. And I have a lot more other stories I can share. If you want to know like sports stories, whatever kind of stories, just let me know down below in the comments. And oh yeah, and this is the bracelet I made. This is the current one. It's like I'm not the greatest at rainbow looming. I guess I could show you some of the other ones I made. No one ever takes them, so I don't like making them. So obviously, like, I just made that one. I made this one. You know. And I got this blue one. Got this. They're all pretty, like, basic ones, you know. But please comment down below what other kind of story times you want to see. I love sharing anything and everything. I'm a very open person. If you have any questions, I'll also answer them down in the comments or maybe in my next video. But please don't be afraid to ask about anything and everything. I love talking. Obviously, I just talked for so long. You guys are probably so bored and I'm still talking. But thank you for coming back to my channel. I hope to see you next week. So go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you.